Like if you found the video valuable. Emma had always loved Friday nights at the Starlight Café. It wasn't fancy, just a quiet little place on the edge of town, with wooden tables polished smooth by years of conversation, and strings of lights draped across the ceiling like captured stars. The cafe smelled of cinnamon and roasted coffee beans, and the music was always soft, as if it knew not to interrupt the thoughts of those who came seeking more than just a drink. For Emma, it was a refuge after long weeks at work. She would order her chamomile tea, find her favorite seat by the window, and open whatever book she was carrying. But lately, she had noticed someone, who kept drawing her attention. A man, always in the same corner, always with a notebook open, pen moving steadily across the page. He wasn't striking in the usual way, but there was something about him that held her gaze, his quiet focus, the way he tapped the pen against his lip when searching for the right words, the small smile that sometimes crept onto his face as if he were writing a private joke. Emma tried not to stare, but every Friday, she found herself glancing his way. And every Friday, at some point, his eyes would lift and meet hers. A silent acknowledgement, nothing more, until one evening. That night, the cafe was busier than usual, and Emma's favorite seat by the window was taken. She hesitated, then noticed the empty chair at the stranger's table. He looked up, saw her pause, and gestured lightly, an invitation. Her heart fluttered as she crossed the room. "Mind if I, please," he said, his voice warm but soft. Emma sat, her teacup trembling slightly in her hands. For a while, they didn't speak. He wrote, she read. But the silence wasn't uncomfortable, it was companionable, like two melodies weaving together. Finally, he closed his notebook. "You're here every Friday," he said. She smiled. "So are you." He chuckled, nodding. "I suppose I am. I'm Daniel." Emma. And just like that, the barrier between them dissolved. They spoke of small things first, the cafe's music, the weather, their favorite books. But as weeks passed and Fridays turned into a rhythm, their conversations deepened. Daniel told her he was a writer, working on a story he wasn't sure he'd ever finish. Emma confessed that she once dreamed of traveling the world, but life had quietly tied her to the town she grew up in. They shared laughter, too, over clumsy jokes, over the cafe's old clock that always ran 5 minutes slow, over Daniel's habit of doodling on napkins and leaving them behind like secret art. Yet, Emma could sense something beneath his words, a shadow he never quite explained. Sometimes, his eyes lingered on hers as if wanting to say more. Sometimes, she caught him staring at the stars outside the window with a look that was almost wistful. One evening, after weeks of this quiet closeness, Daniel arrived without his notebook. Instead, he placed a sealed envelope on the table between them. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice steady but heavy. Emma's chest tightened. "What is it?" "I'm leaving," he said softly. "I've been offered a chance to travel, a research project overseas. It's something I've wanted for years. But it means, I won't be here every Friday anymore." The words hit her harder than she expected. The cafe without him felt unimaginable. She looked at the envelope. "What's this?" "A letter," he said. "For you to read when you're ready. Not now, when you feel the moment is right." Emma touched the envelope, her fingers brushing his. The air seemed to hum. She wanted to tell him not to go, to confess that the cafe had become more than just a place because of him. But the words caught in her throat. Instead, she whispered, "Will you come back?" He smiled, though there was sadness in it. "I hope so. The stars have a way of leading us where we belong." That night, they lingered until the cafe's lights dimmed, speaking of dreams and fears, of journeys that waited beyond the horizon. When they finally parted, Daniel pressed her hand gently, as if sealing an unspoken promise. Emma never forgot that evening. Weeks later, she still came to the cafe, still sat by the window with her tea. And one night, when the stars seemed especially bright, she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, written in Daniel's careful hand. It spoke of the courage it takes to follow a dream, of the beauty of chance meetings, and of how sometimes, love is found not in grand gestures but in quiet Fridays at a cafe filled with starlight. Emma folded the letter close to her heart. She smiled through tears, knowing that some stories don't need endings to be real. And somewhere, across oceans and time zones, Daniel wrote, hoping their chapters would one day meet again.